WPIAL Podcast, Trib Live High School Sports Network, wrapping up week 8 of the high school football season, at least the Friday night portion. Here on this podcast, we'll run down the scores, tell you the stars of the night and the statistical stars, and also what it means as far as the playoff picture. Just a reminder, again, haven't been able to dive fully in. That'll be this weekend. That's what I'll be doing this weekend, everybody, is working on the playoff picture. So there could be teams that have clinched that I won't recognize here, but that'll all come out in the wash this weekend. Check it out, hssn.triblive.com. All right, let's get to the action, some good action, too, in week 8, Friday night. Starting 6A, Central Catholic does what they do. They win. They beat Seneca Valley in Harmony 48-6. Jaden Alexander, 3 touchdowns. For the Vikings, who had clinched the playoff berth, this victory clinches the regular season championship and the number 1 seed, if you will, in Class 6A. Norwin 24, Cannon McMillan 21, Tristan Josephic a 29-yard field goal with 5 seconds left. That's the difference as the Knights improved to 3-2 in Class 6A. Tristan Tavares, outstanding quarterback, had an outstanding game. 14 of 23 passing, 118 yards. He also ran for 126 yards and 2 scores. Cannon McMillan falls to 2-3, but still in the hunt for one of 2 remaining playoff berths in Class 6A. That win doesn't guarantee Norwin a playoff spot. A lot of things would have to happen, some of them strange, for the Knights not to get in. Mount Lebanon is still alive, and in the process, they eliminate Hempfield 28-6. The Blue Devils over the Spartans. Patrick Smith, 200 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns for the 2-3 Blue Devils. Non-conference, Pine Richland 67, North Allegheny nothing. Let that sink in. The Tigers have a rich tradition, obviously, of success on the gridiron going back decades. And they have not been beat like this too many times. 67-0. Aaron Strader, 14 of 20, passing 223 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Rams. North Allegheny, despite falling to 7-2, they have also clinched and now are locked into second place in Class 6A. Cannon McMillan, Norwin, Mount Lebanon, and even Seneca Valley still alive heading into week 9. 5A, Allegheny 6 Conference, Peters Township remains undefeated. No surprise here as they beat winless Baldwin 61-0. Colton Nypaver, 3 touchdowns, including a 72-yard pick 6 for the undefeated Indians. David Dennison, 41 carries, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns. Bethel Park comes back to beat South Fayette 33-16 to keep their playoff hopes alive. South Fayette, despite the loss, still also alive for a possible wild card out of the Allegheny 6, but they now fall into 5th place. Bethel Park technically in 4th place. They're 2-2, tied with Upper St. Clair for 3rd place, but the Panthers have the edge as far as tiebreaker is concerned. USC loses at Moon, double overtime, 20-13. The Tigers are alone in 2nd place behind Peters Township. Andrew Cross, 2 touchdowns, including a 1-yard run in the 2nd overtime that proves to be the game winner. 20-13 Moon over Upper St. Clair in a double overtime thriller. Big East Conference, Woodland Hills had already clinched. They are now the Big East Conference champions after beating Franklin Regional 55-7. Taylor Reed, 3 touchdowns for the Wolverines. Carter Aikens scores twice, including a 50-yard pick 6. Nate Desmond, 5 of 8 passing, 178 yards, 4 touchdowns. Penn Trafford clinches a playoff berth, 42-7 over Armstrong. Mason Mitchell, the outstanding freshman quarterback for Gateway, 21 of 29 passing, 261 yards and 3 touchdowns. Gators win in their final conference game, 27-24 over Latrobe, keeping their playoff hopes alive. They finish the Big East Conference with a record of 3-3, and as of now sit in third place in the Big East Conference. Remember, in 5A, top 3 teams qualify for the playoffs, plus 3 wild cards. Armstrong, after losing to Penn Trafford, falls to 2-3. They play Franklin Regional next week. If they win, they'll finish 3-3, and they do have the head-to-head with Gateway, so they would be third, and Gateway would be fourth, and then hoping for a wild card. Northeast Conference, North Hills stays alive. They beat Penn Hills 17-6. Austin Ellis, a touchdown pass and a touchdown run for the North Hills Indians. North Hills done with conference play. They finish at 3-2. Penn Hills falls to 2-2, and next week they will visit Plum to wrap up the regular season and need a win to keep their playoff hopes intact. In fact, that'll be for third place, that Penn Hills Plum game. Shaler is now 3-1 after a 35-14 win over Fox Chapel. If Penn Hills wins, they could move into second place, depending on what Shaler does. Shaler plays Pine Richland. That game actually is for the Northeast Conference Championship. Shaler is 3-1. Pine Richland is 4-0. Speaking of Plum, they improved to 4-5 for the season with a non-conference victory over Kiskeria, 29-12. John Nonnenberg, 2 touchdown passes for the winning Mustangs. Back to that Shaler win, 35-14 over Fox Chapel. Avery Kinter, 148 yards rushing and a touchdown for the Titans, who again, they're 3-6, having won 2 in a row, and they will be playing for the conference championship next week. All right, Class 4A. Let's start in the Big Six Conference. Trinity clinches a playoff berth and the Big Six Conference championship with a 48-0 whitewash of Laurel Highlands. Owen Gardner, 222 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns for the Hillers. Thomas Jefferson secures second place and clinches a playoff berth with a 45-6 rout of Chartiers Valley. Second straight huge week for Tyler Ebert. 234 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. A week ago, Eber, in a victory over Ringgold, rushed for 279 yards and 6 touchdowns, over 600 yards in 2 weeks. Chase Petrosky, 156 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Bell Vernon, 48. Ringgold, 6. Parkway Conference, we go from a 4-way tie for first place to a 3-way tie for first place, thanks in part to Montour's come from behind victory over Aliquippa, 34-20. Brandon Bennett, 5 of 9 passing, 125 yards and 2 touchdowns for the winning Spartans, who are 3-1. Excuse me. West Allegheny, also 3-1 after a 40-10 win over Blackhawk. Brody Cornell, 147 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns for the Indians. Timeout. Pause. That's good stuff. All right. Brody Cornell, 147 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. Indians win 40-10 over Blackhawk. Newcastle, 56. Ambridge, 7. Marino Graham, talented freshman quarterback, 13 of 16 passing, 174 yards, 3 touchdowns, 111 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns for the winning Canes. So West Allegheny, Montour, Newcastle, all 3-1. Newcastle concludes next week against Blackhawk. West Allegheny hosts Montour. Winner of that game, obviously, is going to be playoff bound and will clinch at least a share of the conference championship. Newcastle wins, they clinch a share of the conference championship. What about Aliquippa? Still in line. They play Ambridge next week, so odds are good they'll finish at 3-2. But if they finish in 4th place, which they would if West Allegheny were to beat Montour, because Montour has the tiebreaker. The Spartans would be in third place. Then the Quips would have to hope both wild cards in 4A go to the Parkway Conference. Greater Allegheny Conference, McKeesport 74, Indiana 6, Matt Miller 8 of 11 passing, 129 yards, and 3 touchdowns for the Tigers, who not only clinch a playoff berth, but clinch the Greater Allegheny Conference Championship. Mars 49, Hampton 10, Colin Uriznik 10 of 11 passing, almost a perfect night, 142 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Fighting Planets, who also clinch a playoff berth with that win. Hampton falls into a tie with West Mifflin for third place, and again, wild card hopes. West Mifflin beats Knock 41-16. Armin Hill 219 yards rushing and a touchdown for the Titans. West Mifflin visits Hampton next week. That's a battle for third place. And again, no guarantees of a wild card, but wild card possibilities if you finish in third. Big Six Conference, if you're wondering, Chartiers Valley has the best opportunity to finish third. And again, wild card hopes unless both wild cards go to the Parkway Conference. All right, to Class 3A now. Start in the Western Hills Conference. Luke Neal doing Luke Neal things. 223 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Avonworth 42, North Catholic 10. Antelopes clinch a playoff berth and the Western Hills Conference Championship with the win. They are 9-0 on the season. Ethan Shear, 103 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Central Valley 23, Hopewell 7. The Warriors in their final conference game finish at 5-1 and also clinch a playoff berth. Jonah Justice, 213 yards. No justice, though, in that he didn't score a touchdown. Beaver 35, Quaker Valley 13. Bobcats keep their playoff hopes alive as they improve to 3-2. Allegheny 7 Conference, Imani Christian remains perfect. 53-7 winners over Burrell. Gabe Jenkins, a monster game. 13 of 19 passing, 285 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He also rushed for 132 yards and a score as the Saints go to 9-0 with a rout of Burrell. Freeport is now 4-1 and getting ready to visit Imani Christian next week to play for the conference championship. Yellow Jackets on Friday over East Allegheny, 49-19. Amos Glenn, 206 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns as the Yellow Jackets clinch a playoff berth. Deer Lakes 29, Valley 14. Dante Mangieri to Evan Moore, 2 touchdown passes as the Lancers win their first conference game and they end a 7-game skid. Interstate Conference, battle for the conference title. Elizabeth Forward, a winner, 42-0 over Southmoreland. Ryan Messina, 14 of 19 passing, 160 yards, 193 yards on the ground, plus 3 touchdowns as the Warriors go to 4-0, 8-1 on the season, and they hand the Scotties their first loss. They're 3-1, 8-1. Southmoreland, despite the loss, clinches a WPIAL playoff berth. Third place in the Interstate Conference, now deadlocked. Mount Pleasant and Derry, after Derry beats Mount Pleasant 33-13. Anthony Sacco, 7 of 11 passing, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns for the Trojans, who are 2-2. The Vikings of Mount Pleasant, 2-2. Now Derry holds the edge as far as the tiebreaker. Brody Chismar, 15 of 27 passing, 220 yards and 3 touchdowns. Greensburg-Salem wins their first conference game, 41-7 over York. 3A non-conference, Jamarcus Prager to Jamar Wright, 3 touchdown passes between the two. Highlands 38, McGuffey 12. The Golden Rams now 6-3 and also clinching a playoff berth out of the Allegheny 7 Conference. 2A non-conference, South Allegheny 64, Stowe Rocks 14. Gladiators 9-0 as they get ready to host Steel Valley next week. Elijah Cook to brother Drew Cook, 2 touchdown passes. Class 2A's Midwestern Athletic Conference, all alone in first place again. The Western Beaver Golden Beavers. Amari Marshall, 92 yards passing and a touchdown, 218 yards rushing and a score as the Golden Beavers edge New Brighton 20-14. Beaver Falls had been tied with Western Beaver for first place, but their 4-game win streak comes to an end. They lose at Riverside 21-18. Aiden Gatos, 10 of 15 passing, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Riverside now 4-2. Beaver Falls also 4-2. Elwood City is 4-2 after beating Union 41-6. Richard Curitan, 143 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns for the Wolverines. Mohawk still alive. Bobby Fadden, 7 of 8 passing, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mohawk 29, and Freedom nothing. Century Conference, all 3 playoff berths had already been wrapped up coming into the week. Championship game in the conference is set for week 9. Jamari Walker, 3 touchdowns. Washington 62, Carleton nothing. Kia Jones, 11 of 15 passing, 141 yards and 2 touchdowns. Seton LaSalle blanks Keystone Oaks 55-0. Washington at Seton LaSalle for first place. Loser will be second. Keystone Oaks locked into third place despite the big loss tonight. Waynesburg Central 47, Charleroi 12. Allegheny Conference, South Allegheny had already clinched. They play for the conference championship next week when they host Steel Valley. The Ironmen clinched tonight with a 49-0 victory over Ligonier Valley. Deron Barksdale only had 8 carries, 240 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Apollo Ridge also has clinched as they improved to 4-1 in the conference with a wild 45-34 victory at South Park. Alex Clausen, 6 of 8 passing, 158 yards and 2 touchdowns for the winning Vikings. J.J. Hayden, 2 touchdown passes as Our Lady of the Sacred Heart moves into 4th place and a possible wild card spot. They win at Shadyside Academy 18-8. All right, let's go to Class A. Black Hills Conference. Bishop Canavan, after getting torched last week by Fort Cherry, wins at Monessen 44-7. The Crusaders clinch a playoff berth. Fort Cherry had already clinched the conference title after that win a week ago. Aaron Walsh, 14 of 26 passing, 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. Chartiers Houston clinches a playoff berth with a 27-26 victory at Cornell. Chris Green, 9 of 16 passing, 182 yards and a touchdown. Sarah Catholic wins their first conference game, 29-0 over Burgettstown. So Fort Cherry in, Bishop Canavan in, Chartiers Houston in that order. Monessen next week plays Cornell for 4th place and a possible wild card in Class A. Big 7 conference battle for first place goes to the host Laurel Spartans. Laurel rolls big over Southside, 45-7, handing the Rams their first conference loss. Quarterback Lucas Santini, 6 of 11 passing, 153 yards, and 3 touchdown tosses for the winning Laurel Spartans, who next week take on Neshannock for the conference championship. If Laurel wins, they win the conference title outright. Both Laurel and Southside had already clinched playoff berths coming in. Neshannock can clinch with a victory tomorrow at Summit Academy. Rochester wins their first game of the season, 44-14 over Northgate. Eastern Conference, Leechburg 48, Brentwood 41. Tim Andrasey, 39 carries for 348 yards and 5 touchdowns. What a monster season he is having for Leechburg as the Blue Devils improve to 4-1 and clinch a playoff berth in the process. Jeanette 50, Springdale 8, Jace Powell 3 touchdowns, including a 40-yard punt return for the Jayhawks, who improved to 4-2. Fraser now 3-3. They win at Greensburg Central Catholic 35-33. Brady Seacrest 2 touchdown passes and a touchdown run for the Commodores, who are, as I mentioned, 3-3. In the Tri-County South, California had already clinched a playoff berth. They can clinch the conference title next week when they take on Jefferson Morgan. This week, the Trojans over the Beth Center Bulldogs, 38-3. Malachi Peak, 150 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Trojans. Jefferson Morgan getting ready for the big showdown next week. Wins at home over Avella, 47-6. Ben Hayes, 210 yards, 6 touchdowns. Bentworth, 42. Mapletown, nothing. The Bearcats clinch a district playoff berth. And Carmichael's over West Green, 28-14. Second straight win for the Mighty Mikes. Ryan Huey, 214 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns for Cherry, 42. Shenango, nothing in a non-conference game in Class A. Independent final scores: Elbert Gallatin improves to 9-0. They win at Brownsville, 62-21. Connellsville wins the old Coal Bucket with a 56-12 victory over Uniontown, and Wheeling Park hands Butler their second loss of the season, 20-13. City League semifinals on Thursday. Westinghouse defeated Alderdice 26-6, and on Friday, University Prep destroys Brashear 63-0. So it'll be 6-2 University Prep, the regular season champs, taking on 6-3 Westinghouse in the City League championship game, which should be a good one, on Saturday, next Saturday at 3:00 at Couple Stadium. All right, there you have it. Again, look for the article that will spell things out a little more cleanly, long form, as far as what the playoff picture is heading into Week 9. Thanks to Chris Laggard. A long day for him. We had the volleyball playoff pairing show, all the football games, and then the scoreboard show, and now this podcast. Kudos to him. He should take a week or two off, I think. We thank him, and we thank you for joining us. Rebel Yell podcast, by the way, before I wrap things up. Monday, our Player of the Week podcast. Tuesday, our Team of the Week podcast. Wednesday, the big look ahead to Week 9, and again, going over all the playoff scenarios. And then Week 9 itself next Friday. Can't wait. I'm Don Rebel. Thank you for joining us here in the stretch run of the 2025 season on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.